Let me refresh YouTube. There we go. We're live. Boom.
Boom.
There we go. So now I'm announcing on socials to put people to join.
Does it show you who joins on YouTube?
Yes, it does. It shows the comments as well on StreamYard, and then we can just grab comments if it happens. Then it will be recorded as well. As soon as we finish, it stays on the YouTube channel, and then you can share.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah. I didn't brought my full setup today because I was a bit lazy. So I was like, yeah, let me just push the microphone just because of the quality. But let's not push the camera too much.
Yeah, I still need to get a haircut and stuff. I've just had no time at all.
Why? Are you afraid to go to the barbers?
No, you know what? It's just been really busy with work-wise. I've been doing the garden as well at the same time and then looking after the baby. So it's like doing everything. It's like at the moment it's mostly appointments only everywhere. So I've been yes, it's been hard to actually find a slot.
True. Yeah.
I thought you would have cut your own hair.
You know what? I was thinking, but I'm not brave enough.
Yeah, wifey done my one twice. And then on the
Really?
third time, she was like, I'm not doing this shit again. Just go to a barber. So I went to a Turkish guy, and the Turkish guy was like, yeah, we're not open, but I can cut your hair.
You're a brave guy.
I mean, come on. If I get sick, let's be honest, it's 10 days at home. I'm gonna keep working anyway because
Yeah.
we don't feel too much the thing, like the COVID thing. So
Yeah. To be honest, I actually think during this lockdown, I've actually been way more busier and actually do way more work. Because I think, it's because you don't get to do the traveling to work, the breaks you kind of do natural. So like if you're kind
and
of
you don't have the shit chat as well with the
yeah,
boys in the corridor as well.
the only downside is the amount of bloody meetings there is. It's like I spend literally about 4 or 5 hours, like most half of the day, almost every day on video calls.
True, absolutely true.
Yeah.
I hate the meetings. My
Yeah.
calendar is like your calendar. I need a clone. I'm
Yeah.
triple book sometimes, double book all the time. So
Yeah.
sometimes I just choose the meetings. Like I like these one. I like the title. I'm gonna be on these
Yeah.
one.
I've kind of started going with a motto that basically like if people need me for something, then message me and I'll join it. Other than that, I'm not joining, apart from stand-ups and stuff and other
Yeah,
ceremonies.
that's true. So people are coming at me. This is going to be recorded. I'm gonna leave you guys to just do an intro, like who you are, what's your title, where you work, and then we begin the questions. If people want to leave questions on the chat as well, please do, and we will get them. But we have some questions here already. So let's start with Chloe, the drunk one.
I haven't drunk in so long. This COVID thing, honestly. Yeah, but hi guys, I'm Chloe. I'm currently a product designer at Discovery. I've actually joined there recently, so I've been there officially a month. But prior to that, I've actually I met Junior and Dimitri at Investors, so that's where I was at before. I was there for a year and a half. And yeah, that's basically me, and that's how I know these two guys.
Yeah. So Dimitri, go for it.
So yeah, I'm Dimitri, senior visual designer, product designer soon. We're kind of doing a bit of reforms at work. But yeah, so I'm at Zoopla at the moment. Yeah, like Chloe said, so we kind of met Junior and Chloe at Investors a few years ago. Myself, I've been in Zoopla now. It's going to be a year next week, so it's gone really quick. A lot of things changing. Yeah, time flies. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to, I guess, like all of the new things that are going to be coming out of COVID afterwards and all the changes. Yeah, there's a lot of everything is kind of changing for digital, I feel like, especially in my area in Zoopla, even all the viewings, everything's going like digital video and it changes all of the product space around us. And I think it's exciting times.
Yeah, that's good intro there, and then it brings me a point as well for the differences between our work, because my work is physical, your work is physical as well, Dimitri, but Chloe's work is digital, 100% digital. And in our work, at least my company had to adapt everything since the beginning of the journey, from the end of the journey, how we deliver the cars, how they buy the cars, how safe is it, because I mean, people are afraid to go to
Yeah.
visit something, and it's like the flats as well. How are they gonna visit the flats? It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and I think the great thing that I've seen out of it is the how people quickly adapted to the situation, and companies, actually making differences to actually, get things moving again. But I think for designers, it's the most kind of exciting part at all, because that means we're going to have way more new products to work with. There's going to be new tech coming out that we'll obviously get our hands on and start experimenting. So I think next year or two is going to be really, really fun.
That's true. uh Chloe recently moved job during COVID. That was a challenging one. She called me at least 5 times before taking the decision. She was like, do you think this is a great move? It's dangerous." So how's been, Chloe, on the new job, jumping jobs during COVID?
Do you know what? Funny enough, I interviewed for Discovery before lockdown. It just took me about 3 months to actually like join the company because everything was so prolonged. And Discovery is an American company. So now because of COVID, there was basically a lot more steps to take in getting a job and a lot more sort of like walls to go through in a sense. But I mean, it's good. And I've definitely I feel like I've made the right move. And it's not only like about navigating just a completely different job role, because I was obviously a digital designer before this. This is my first product design role. So not only am I going into a role which I haven't done before, I'm doing it in a completely brand new company, like with a new system, new processes. I have no idea who anybody was, but it's good. It's just kind of just like, how do you navigate those challenges? And realistically, I think, as Dimar said, next year, everything, well, in the next 2 years, I think there's going to be a lot more fun things that are going to come off this COVID situation. New products, new tools, new ways of working, new ways of collaboration. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be really, really fun.
That's true.
Yeah.
You raised a nice point, which I think Dimitri as well came from it. I come from graphic design, and I had to move to digital and then move to product. When we say digital, it doesn't mean product. People get their hands with, oh, I work in digital space, I do websites. Yeah, there is a difference between doing websites, digital, and product. Did you felt the difference as well, Dimitri? Because I know you come from websites and this UI, lifestyle, motion. By the way, guys, Dimitri is a on UI and motion and dribble fancy stuff. Now that you work with product, did you felt the difference?
Yeah, big time. I think for me, the main differentiator was the fact that everything is like, even the debriefings and how you approach any problems, it's like everything is different. Like, you end up looking into the data much more heavily and much more deeper. You kind of don't rush. Like, I think for us at the moment, I found is that you end up spending like half of the sprint on actually discovering and identifying what you're trying to solve before you actually go and do the visual work. And then the biggest shock for me, I think, from being, because I was kind of like you, Junior, I started off with graphic design, like studying, and then when I came into the real world, I was like, God, there's so much competition, like it's so hard to get into stuff. And I think it naturally evolves us. And I think, like, especially jumping roles, like I think what you, Chloe, said as well, like the change from your normal way of working is so different, but in a nice way, because I think there's so much to learn, and from, like, even just like different ways of working in different teams, even if it's agile, I think every team will work slightly different with agile. So I think it's like every project you do and every product you work on will have different things to learn from. And then I think it's just much more juicy in the details. You have to be really, really like solid on what you are doing, because you need to know that whatever change you're suggesting, like, of course you're going to be doing testing to validate what you're trying to propose to design, but everything needs to have a backing. Where I think is before, it was almost a bit more visual. As long as it looks good, it's up to brand. It's like there wasn't that much emphasis on kind of like real testing and real data, knowing if you've actually achieved to solve the problem. It's a bit. I think that's the game changer, is actually analyzing how you've done and what you've done and learning from it. I think that is the actual interesting and kind of the most enjoyable part from the change for me.
Yeah. And what about you, Chloe? What was the biggest challenge in changing from just deliver that design there and now think about the design there?
No, I completely agree. It's like I've had to use my brain a lot more, which I'm not used to. Again, it was just so visual. What can make this website look nice, as opposed to, does this website work? How do we measure it? Like, how do we, product design is as you say, Junior, it's like, how do you kind of solve the problem that we're trying to face? What is the solution? And that is basically any kind of project now that I work on. It's basically kind of using that kind of methodology in solving problems, essentially, instead of just doing something for the sake of timelines, or that's basically what fits in the scope. So it's definitely, again, it has been like a change, but it's been a welcoming change. And I think realistically, like I'm really biased. Product design is actually really fun, and it's something that I've really wanted to get into for ages. And I was like stressing about it for like months, messaging Junior for like a good long time. Like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Like, I've never had to use my brain before. But it's good. It's like, yeah, it's definitely good. It's really challenging, but it's a good challenge.
That's nice. That's nice. By the way, Dimitri design for web. Do you do apps as well, Dimitri? Are you on the apps team or web team?
To be honest, at the moment, I'm actually really happy on what I'm doing. Is that I'm not web or app. I'm a bit of everything. I'm doing some software as well. So I'm kind of, at the moment, I'm doing a bit more support across web. App is in a good shape for us, so it's a bit less work there. So it's mostly at the moment kind of website for me and software. So software, we have like loads of different software and it'll look different. So we're just trying to make sense of things. And I think it's working on the design system side of things. It's great because you get visibility on how different products will function and what the requirements, what the differentiators. Because in the end goal, what we're trying to do is create like a shared design system that can be used for web, app, and software with a single brand. So I think it's a bit of both from my side.
Yeah, you raised a good point. You talked about design system, which is something that is so trendy now in Brazil, and everywhere you see design system trainings and you see everyone talking about design system. But normally design systems are made for people that are very seniors and they own their space and their product. How do you feel design system impact your job in the day-to-day? Like, me and you, we have built design systems before. I've done the Rolls Royce one. We've done the shit one for investors there with the blocks. What do you think is the biggest difficulty to understand what is a design system and what is for?
I think it's quite a broad one. And from where we are at the moment, what we're actually trying to tackle as well is that I think, like, when I first started with design system, my whole way of thinking was more around the initial users. So of course that's the main goal, right? So we're doing a product for designers. But I think what I've learned now is looking at it from an approach where it's not just focused on web, where it kind of needs to be bigger and scalable and adaptable. What we try actually find is that it needs to be more usable for outside of design as well. So, product owners, anyone that kind of wants to understand the brand or try and mock something up quickly. I think it's both looking at users and how simple it can be. So I think one of the most hardest and the most important thing that I've learned is actual comms with the engineers, so the devs. I think aligning with the devs and the design is key. Like, I think even down to the terminology, how you name things, how you communicate about things, keeping a transparent language, All of those things, I think it's not as, you know, there's not a single user for it. I think it's wide, right? You want to make it as easy as possible. The documentation needs to be really extensive. You know, you need to cover, especially now we focus on accessibility a lot, and that is, oh my God, accessibility is another big well to jump in. There's so much stuff there. I think it's really broad. I think it's one of those things that it's not a single audience. It needs to cover loads of different angles, and for everything, it needs to be flexible. You need to make sure that you testing it really, really in depth, like especially if a junior or mid designer jumps on. Because I guess one of the main focus points why we chose to do a design system is looking at our website at the moment through over the years. What happens is that when you have designers, you know, the same company, they're working in different product teams, even though they communicate on a daily basis, that with our design system, what we saw is the outcomes basically was really different. So one person would design something that looks like this, something will be different. And then over time, it grew so different that almost every part of the page looked different, or the website, I mean. So there was the consistency of the brand and the language, tone of voice, everything was just disjointed. Like the user journeys was so broken. Like even myself, I try and look at it now and I get lost myself, and I'm like, God, like if I get lost, how are users using this website? Basically, it's like how they use this product. So I think it's no, it's a big one. I think it's really interesting, design systems, and you have to involve everyone else around you with it.
Absolutely. And Chloe now, she's designing for apps, which is a completely different word for design systems. How are you finding designing for apps and getting to know this app word?
Well, so I start working, I think, on mobile from the next coming weeks for Discovery. It's not really set in stone yet, but it will be good because I've never actually worked on apps before. It's primarily just been websites, so it's going to be like a nice change. But going back, to design systems, I have learned that they have to be scalable, and how do you sort of evolve them over time as well? That is probably the most important thing. How can obviously it work for desktop or for me connected devices if it's going on TV or whatever, mobile, tablet, whatever. The thing is, it's constantly developing and evolving, and it's you kind of also have to really kind of just keep track of not trends, but I guess how to continuously make it scalable. And I think that's probably one of the most challenging things about a design system, really, and making it work. I think there's going to be, in my experience, there is no perfect design system that I've seen so far. Like I've looked at like Apple's, for example, and I think they still use Sketch. And you open the file and it like freezes. You can't actually use it. It's so slow. And for a huge company, is that really the method that, they have to take? If a designer has to do something really, really quickly, is that the right measure that they have to take to get the correct assets? If it takes them like, I don't know, time basically is the most important thing of design, and quickly doing things. And anything that is delayed, they just need to kind of think about ways on how to improve the workflow and increase basically time, in my opinion. But obviously, again, back at Investis, when I used to work on websites, I was very much symbolizing everything, like literally everything. Pictures with text and backgrounds, like variations of that, like left, right, it doesn't really matter. But moving forward, is that the right method to take? Do we have to symbolize everything for a design system? So yeah, there's definitely like questions around, what is the most beneficial way of basically running a design system and developing one. But I guess that's just sort of like something that you develop over time and you develop with your team.
Yeah, that's true. Are you working on Figma, both of you?
Yeah, I am.
You were working on, Chloe?
So we're currently using Sketch. I think Discovery has plans on moving to Figma at the end of the year. It's just while we're working on the design system, I think, I think they're going to get that finalized first before Figma.
Nice. Nice. Have you found it difficult, Dimitri, to move from Sketch? We were doing Sketch on high levels. We were even
Mm.
challenging each other to be who does more on Sketch. How has been the transition to Figma?
To be honest, it was quite nice. The one thing that annoyed me a little bit, like everyone is obviously learning new shortcuts. That's always a bit of a pain by the time you get used to it. But it comes naturally, I guess. But you know what I love the most about it is that it's all online. You don't need an app. You can view prototype. You can share things, comments. You could we even run some basic user tests on it. Like you could do some. It's quite such a lightweight tool. I find that it's just really easy and to use. I don't know. I think some things in Sketch are much better. Some things. So it's one of those, right? I wish there was a in the middle where there was like a tool that had both. So like when it comes to symbols where you create, I prefer the way that Sketch handles it. So finding
Absolutely.
components and overrides, I think Sketch is a level beyond Figma. Figma is a little bit more messier still, but I think transition's quite easy. I think, if you're familiar with even from Photoshop days, when we transition from Photoshop to Sketch, all of the tools are quite similar, just the layout slightly different and the shortcuts. So like once you get your head around those, it becomes pretty fluent with it.
Yeah.
What about you? What about you, Junior? What are you using yourself?
So yeah, I moved as well. Photoshop, Sketch, Adobe XD, and now Figma. So Figma, I moved to Figma from Hero, my previous job before Kazoo, and it was in the time that Chloe is now. So they had a sketch design system. They were moving to Figma, and the questions were how flexible and how adaptable do we want to be. So for 3 months, I was just designing a design system. So I didn't talk with users. I didn't gone out of the lab. Was just design system.
Mhm.
Like every day was like process, design system, namings, devs. Can you see that? Can you comment on that? Can you access this file? Until we discover how powerful the tool was. But I do agree with you. Sometimes I miss a sketch with the simplicity. You create a
Mhm.
symbol, you know where the symbol is, and then that's it. On Figma, you create a symbol and then you just pray for it. You
Yeah.
don't know what the symbol is.
You know what? The one thing that really annoys me with Figma on a daily basis when I'm designing and using components is when you do override. That if you keep resetting all the colors, the typography back to the basic labels, it's like why can't you just keep what I've overridden you with? It's like you literally reset everything. You change an icon, it goes to the default color. So yeah, I think I remember in Sketch it was different. Like, I used to remember your settings that used to change. So I think there's some things that are really frustrating, and I'm hoping they'll fix with time. But it was a good transition.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, Thinking about the actual situation that we live in, we're locked at home, we're working at home. How you guys are keeping up with work, balanced life? Are you guys working more? Are you guys working less? Are you guys more stressed, less stressed?
Um, Personally, for me, I'm losing my mind. But that's just because, like, again, joining a completely new company, it's funny because, like, when you meet people in person or when you're like going for interviews, you know what they like. I don't even know how tall some of the people are. Like, it's just small things like that. I can't judge body language. Everything evolves around messaging, which is fine. But there does become a sense of, am I bothering this person? Um, it's difficult in that sense. And I'm like a big person for, like, I don't know, going to the coffee machine and like having a
No, no,
chat and
drinks. You're
having a
the
drink.
big person on drinks.
I wasn't gonna talk about that. I'm joking. No, yeah, or go for a drink. So it has been really challenging. I've also found that I've been working a lot more, because why not? But I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to kind of going back to the office, but working maybe like once or twice a week would be like the best, because I get to have that social element of work, which I think I personally really need. but then I really enjoy working from home and actually getting stuff done. There's definitely less distractions. I get my work and then I just do it basically. But that's me personally.
Yeah. What about you, Dimitri?
To be honest, I've actually been coping not too bad. I've kind of tried to stick to my normal routine. So the time I've kind of start work and finish work, I'm kind of doing similar. I guess I do more work because obviously I'm not taking my like lunch hour. I'll just kind of eat at my desk while I'm working or something. Sometimes I'll go for a walk here and there if I'm like really agitated or I'm blocked on something and I want to get like a change of scenery or just to refresh myself. I think the one nice thing that actually helped me, and it's kind of like lucky situational that I was kind of planning to do my garden, and then this lockdown happened. So I was like, you know what, I'm at home, I've got all the time. Why don't I actually do it? So I actually been able to take a lot of the frustration and stress out on kind of doing physical. I actually found that doing something a bit different than what you normally do was actually like really really helpful. Even though I was doing like double full-time jobs almost, I actually felt really refreshed. So I'll definitely say like popping out if you're blocked and just have like the one thing I'm really looking forward to now is that we can actually go and sit in a coffee shop and work. On we're actually allowed to do that now, so I think that would be a big help. Just to kind of if you really want a change of pace, you can actually go and change like where you work at as well. I know I've seen some people going to like WeWork places and work from there. So it's I think things are starting off again, but I think
Yeah.
going back to work, I'll definitely love to stay at home. But like you said, Chloe, maybe like once or twice a week, go back in, or maybe if there's some workshops or something that is where you kind of need to be a bit more in person, where it's a bit more hands-on. I think like a setup where it's quite balanced will be amazing. What about
Yeah.
you, Junior?
On my situation, I mean, at the beginning was fine, but now my back is just praying for a chair, a proper table, a proper second monitor. I miss my monitor. I miss my gaming mouse. I miss my gaming keyboard. Like I have a full setup at Kazoo. Like my table, it's the correct height. My chair is perfect for my back. So it's more the discomfort that is killing me. But I feel that I'm working 2 times more than I was working in the office, because in the office, I mean, both of you, me guys, I'm the shitty chat on the fucking company. So I like to walk around, I like to chat with people. I mean, my work, I normally work too fast, and then I go to chat and drink coffees and lunches and 3 times lunches a day. I like to mess with people, so I like to make jokes. So I feel I miss the banter on the journeys on the work, and then you play with someone, and then you go to a meeting, and then you go upstairs, downstairs. At home, you just with the dog.
Yeah.
You have a kid, Dimitri, and you have a garden to do. I don't have nothing. I have the
Yeah.
thing with the dog.
Well, at least you got something to keep you busy, eh? You need something, I think. What do you
So
think about coming back to work? What do you reckon the future will be like for companies? Do you think it will be kind of like open, like everyone's going to kind of evolve into like flexible hours, or what do you guys reckon?
that's actually a discussion that is happening on my company at the moment. We have a steering group to discuss back to the office, time flexibility, managing your times. Because to be honest, my team at least is delivering most or maybe equals what we were delivering in the office. So of course we miss the meetings. Like the meeting sometimes it looks a bit lost, because we don't have the face to face. We don't have the post-it idea. Like that's what I want to say to you. Sometimes you get lots of translation on the Google Meet. So I feel that we will have some flexibility, but I think be face to face is still something important for product designers. Even though we work with digital products, I think it's important to be face to face.
Mm.
What about you, Chloe?
Do you know what? I think it's interesting because, companies like WeWork, which primarily their business model is having startup companies or smaller companies within their offices, basically, you know, this COVID has basically eradicated the need for like offices with like slides and like swimming pools and like, I don't know, like gymnastics, like
I
flying from
have
the
I
ceiling.
have ping pong tables and
Yeah,
pool table.
exactly. But that's the interesting thing. Like, you know, do people actually need this? When I think a lot of people actually have been happier working from home, and they've been able to spend more time with their families and like get their garden done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it does like raise that question: is if do we really need these kind of huge office sizes? But at the same time, I think again, like going back to my point before, I really don't think that you can like, you know, replace working from home completely, because it's just that human interaction with product designers or whoever you're working with, just to also really like kind of inspire you as well. You know, you people learn from people, and when you're not sort of face to face or in a kind of environment with them, it's definitely a lot harder to do that.
True. True. And what do you guys think about the future of design, like after COVID? What is the future of our roles, product design, designers in general? Like, what do you think it's the future? Is voice? Is it AR? Is it AI? Is it apps? Dimitri, go for it.
Oof, it's a tough one. To be honest, I still think that like it's been how many years since like gestures and things come out, and people are still learning to use them. Most people don't even know how to use them. So I think there will be new technologies coming out. I think one of the main things I'm sure you all know as well is that it's super hard to change people's habits and how they do things. So I think no matter what kind of tech brings us, it will give us new things to explore and learn and kind of play with. But I think down to our users, things are not going to change that much. I think some products will change, like evolve as natural. Like I was saying before with like, you know, house viewing examples like at Zoopla is, you know, people can't really go into like open houses before. You have loads of people come in, check it out. You can't really do that. So now they obviously move into like doing a 360 cameras tours and so on. So I think some things will definitely change and evolve, but I think it will actually go into a nice way. Like it won't be too drastic. I think there will be nice things that people are familiar with, and if there is something new that comes out, I think it'll be quite natural. I think everyone will kind of, if it's needed, they will learn it. But I don't think there's going to be like a forceful, you know, like you'll have to change something. I think like that's something that we can't really do. Like we have to, obviously, our main thing is, you know, to solve problems for our users. So we don't want to do something that's going to make more problems for them, that they have to learn something. So I think it's that balance. So I think there will be a lot of new things happening, but I think there will be a balance to what extent we go. I think, you know, some of the creative examples, yeah, they might go and do loads of the fun stuff that, like, you know, it's really fun and cool to do, but is it useful to the users? Probably not. I'm sure they probably don't know how to use that stuff. So it varies.
Yeah. What about you, Chloe? What you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I kind of think that not a lot will change, but I think ways of working will probably change a little bit, you know, in a sense of the different tools and softwares that have come out of COVID. Miro has been like a huge tool that I'm starting to use now. I'm doing it for everything just because it's so easy, sort of like for mood boards or just basically having multiple people in one place, basically. So I think that has been like a really welcoming change. And Dima, I saw actually some of the 3D views on Zoopla, but that's a really good example of like kind of solving, if you look at COVID being like a problem, that has been a solution. So realistically, everything over this time and finding different ways of working has been, you know, with all of us trying to just kind of I guess decide what to do and where to go and how to cope, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. And
Yeah.
how that's a weird question, but that's something that I think people don't know how to do. How do you guys set goals, like goals for your career, like personal goals or career goals? Do you plan them? Like, do you take notes? Do you have some specific thing that you do to plan your career? Let's start with Dimitri there.
Um, so you know what? I actually find this one quite tough myself, and I'm always thinking about it. Like, you know, what's the next thing? What do I do next? I think it is a really tough one. I think my strategy at the moment I found that work quite well, especially when it comes to, you know, if you are ready and you're looking for a new move, or, you know, you're starting to look, is to kind of look around at jobs that you'd love to have, like collect maybe a bunch of different specs, basically job that they post online, for example, somewhere, and almost make a comparison and kind of write out all the requirements, the skills that they think, kind of dive a bit deeper, look at people's, LinkedIn profiles who work in similar roles in a company, see what they've kind of the experiences. So I think doing background research, so like what's required, what would be beneficial, and then reference it versus, your own like a CV, for example, or your own, obviously, your own skills. So you're not going to be trying to fool yourself saying, I can do this when you really can't, for example. So you would kind of know what you need to develop to ensure that you can get that job you want. And I think kind of like doing the comparisons, what I have now, what would be great to do. Because I think even if you don't have a skill that's required in a job, I think if you have visibility and it's wanted, when you have an interview and a conversations, if you're willing to learn and you're interested in it, they will feel like, I think most people would actually want to hire someone that wants to learn rather than someone who thinks they know it all. So I think doing research and kind of just doing realistic comparisons, and don't be, like I always say, bring myself down, because if I bring myself down, I know I'm always better than what I think I am. That's kind of my personal little strategy.
What is your one, Chloe?
So little goals that I tend to do is I basically like read a lot on Medium, and I read a lot I ask people who, I don't know, work at Facebook, or Junior Kazoo, or Dimitri Zupla. I find out different kind of ways that people work. And for example, if there's something that I'm really interested in, at the moment, I'm sort of like really interested in, learning how to run workshops. So that for me now is my next goal. And how do I do that? Is just by research. And I think continuously throughout my career is basically that's what I've been doing. I've just been studying things, and it shows when you start to go through job interviews. I think I had an interview with Kazoo, and I had this whiteboard challenge, and I was like, "What the is that?" But I basically, I looked it up, I studied it. I think I had like a week where I was just basically doing whiteboard challenges. But, realistically, that, did open my mind up to, again, different ways of working. And it was something that I'd studied. So I think, researching and finding out things that you necessarily don't think that you need in your career, but I think everything is valuable. Study it and just kind of find ways of incorporating it into your workflow. I think that's basically one of the most important things, and it also helps you like grow as well, and it gives you the confidence as well to say, I've done this, that, and the other. It wasn't in my job description, but I wanted to do it because blah. So
True.
Little goals is the best in my opinion.
True.
Yeah. What about you, Junior?
The whiteboard challenge I aced.
It's hard. It's man.
It's a creative one. Victor sent a question: how do we deal with impostor syndrome? Like, have you guys had any like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough to be there. I don't know if I'm good enough to do that. How you guys deal with this situation, Chloe?
Yes. Yeah, I do. Honestly, every day I've like been like, what if I'm just like not good? Do you know what? Again, it goes back to studying. And if there's something that you feel like you're missing out, for example, for me, learning about workshops, just learn about it, just study it, find out how other people do it, how other companies do it. There's loads of people that write from Google or Facebook on Medium. They've actually got their own like domain, and read up on how they do things, and it will really put you in like a good path to move forward and kind of get that thought out your head. Because realistically, like if you've got the job or if you've got where you need to be, you shouldn't really be worrying about it, because people know that you're good. So the questions are all at the back of your mind. It's just finding ways on how to just deal with that. And in my opinion, that's through basically carrying on studying and research. And yeah.
How you deal with the situation, Dimitri?
I think I think analyzing the reasons why you feel that way. So whether it's someone who you think, you might be in a team and there's like three people who are like really, really out there who know their stuff like from literally down to the dot. And I think if it's something around people or the team or the process, I think it's just looking into what it is and actually thinking like what is actually why am I feeling that way, basically. And to kind of, I best break it down. Like I think with everything that I approach, you have to kind of break it down, right? And then, if you think that someone's, you feel like because someone's way better at communicating, you kind of then kind of like you said, Chloe, then you have to obviously evolve your communication skills. But I think it's something actually, if you do feel that way, it's actually a really good because you then have much more clearer things that you should develop and grow in. So I think if you actually get that, turn it around and actually make it beneficial and use that basically. What do you feel that you haven't got enough of, and then use that to actually develop it. So I think it's actually like a two-edged sword. It could go both ways, but it depends how you flip it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All in your mind.
On my
Yeah.
situation is more when I feel that I don't know something, I do one-to-ones with my head. Like I'm plainly blunt with my head normally. Like I feel that I'm not good enough with facilitation. How can I evolve? Do I need to read something? And he's smart enough to know why I'm there and what I need to learn. So he's always like, AJ, just read this book. You're gonna be fine. And then he's like, you're fine, mate. Don't worry. You're too stressed. This anxiety is gonna kill you. You're fine. Just read this book. So he's always has some type of tip and knowledge, like just do that and then you're gonna feel better. Just do that and then you're gonna feel better. But yeah, I think you can use for your own good as well. Like Dimitri said, like if you feel that you don't know something, just hunt for it, study and know what you don't know. And then you're gonna be good at.
I think one of the most important things as well that I think a lot of people do is they're scared to make mistakes. And I think actually it's the other way around. Don't be scared to make mistakes. The more mistakes you make, you're gonna get people come that'll help you or give you feedback, they'll help you grow, you're gonna know yourself. So I think don't be scared to make mistakes. Like be quite brave with it. If there is a mistake, take it on the chin and learn from it. Don't kind of be stuck up thinking I've done something right. Just be open to things. So I think that's one of the things, right? If you are feeling kind of like that you don't belong, I think it's sometimes you're kind of almost putting yourself down a bit. Like you think that you don't want to do something to make yourself look bad. So, and I think it's just don't be scared to do things wrong. I think just try it.
Yeah, I say this to my students all the time. Like mistakes are just stairs to learn. Like you need to do mistakes. When me and Dimitri we started the design system at Investis, it was an idea. It was like, oh, we're gonna be modular. We've done, and then everyone was like, no, we want to be atomic. Then we've done again, and then at the end we've built like 10 websites, and then we were like, there's something still wrong with this shit. We need to fix it. So until today, I spoke with Gareth like recently, like very recently, I think 2 weeks ago, and I told him I still think the design system is not good enough. So yeah, let me get another question here. I think this one it's a good one. How you guys disconnect from work and not work? Because we are at home. Like you finish work, you close laptop. How you disconnect from that's work? Now I'm on my house.
So that's an easy one for me personally. I've obviously got family, baby there, and then evening times like I always find going doing a bit of gaming on a PS4 or something always helps to kind of distance yourself from whatever you're thinking about.
And you, Chloe?
Yeah, same here. I mean, I don't have a baby, but sometimes picking up because my PS4 broke, rip. But I've been playing a lot of Switch at the moment, so I guess that's one way to just kind of disconnect from work. I think it's really important also just to like go for a walk. It's something that I don't do, but I should probably do it. Just be away from your computer and don't touch it. I think when you're finished with work, that's that. People, when you're actually in the office and you take your laptop away, you finished, you go home. That's it. That's the separation. Work is over there, but your house is over here. And the main issue at the moment is just separating the two and finding ways on how to do that is just, either gaming or, as I said, going for a walk, just really making it important to just really try and disconnect your mind from work, in my opinion.
Yeah. I have another two questions, and then because of time, then we finish. I think this one is a good one. There is a big discussion around this. Do UX designers need to know UI? And do UI designers need to know UX?
Hmm.
Dimitri, the god of motion and good UIs.
You know what? I would actually say it is important. I think it's kind of like it's a hard one because it depends, right? I think it depends on what level you are and what are your goals. So I think when you're first developing, I think it's really, really useful to know UX and UI. You kind of it gives you a more kind of weapons in your arsenal to kind of tackle all the problems or whatever kind of gets thrown at you. So and you have more exposure and different ways to solve problems, different techniques as well. Especially I love working with UX designers, especially around how they facilitate workshops, how they problem solve, how they do just like how they approach a problem in a different way and how they look at data as well in different ways. So I kind of actually love working with like UX heavy designers because the way that they solve problems is really incredible and great. And I always try to take something from there into my own way of working. But I wouldn't, to that degree, I think there's a level to what you would go to. So I think it's like everything, right? You don't want to be kind of jack of all trades, but you're not really amazing at anything. You're kind of okay everywhere. I think it's super important to know the basics. So like not even the basics, maybe even more than basics. So you know what you're doing, understanding. So you basically, as long as it helps you, but I think it can start being damaging as if you start focusing really heavily on one thing and another thing and another thing, because then you're not really going to be too great at anything. So I think kind of like having a good start and kind of always improve it, take notes, but I think stick true to what you really love and what you find natural. I think that is the key. Like where you find really nice and easy, like you don't feel like it's effort. It happens just somehow magically almost in a way. I think that is the key. Like keep to your true essence, and then everything else is almost like a extra support that you have with you.
Yeah. And you, Chloe, transitioning from digital to actual products?
This is actually a really good question. In my personal opinion, I think yes, you should know both, because with you, I think you can specialize in something. Yes, like that's fine, but I think you do need to have a knowledge of I don't know, other areas basically, because it will help you grow and it will help understand what you're doing. It will make it easier. Sorry, for you basically what you're doing and what you're working on to understand how other people basically see what you're doing, if that makes sense. You know, you can be like a really, really good UI designer, but if what you're doing doesn't work, then or people can't use it, then that's, you know, where does that leave you? The same with I think UX. If you really specialize in UX and you don't really sort of think how things work visually and aesthetically, then you're going to also end up, in my opinion, with a very unsatisfying, not so great looking product. So I think it's a very fine balance between the both. And I think you do need to have aspects of knowing UX and UI. I think it's a must. But again, I think you can also specialize much further on in UI or being a UX designer. But it will really help you grow individually, knowing basically multiple different areas, and project managing as well. That's a good one to learn.
Yeah.
You know, actually learning code is actually super useful as well. Like
Guys,
learning even just the
let's
basic,
not
front,
go
you know,
to
HTML. Yeah, but you know, it's actually find it so useful, especially when you're communicating with engineers. You know, being able to speak the same language to a degree and understand them, especially when you're writing documentation. Knowing some code will definitely help you make much more transparent documentation and functional specs for the developers. So I think that, like Chloe said, like it's good to know a bit of everything that's going to help you.
Yeah. I'm moving more to UX and lead and PM thing. So I'm leaving a bit of the design for you, Dimitri, and the code for you as well. But
Yeah.
I think it's very important. I always say like you need to know at least a bit, because communication is what moves a product. And if you don't communicate with your team, the product will be shit. That's real. That's real word. I know dribble designers, they do beautiful stuff, but the reality is, if you don't communicate with your users, you don't know if that it's good enough. And if you don't communicate with devs, you don't even know if that can be built. So I think it needs to have a balance of knowledge, at least to know how to communicate with devs and sit down in the same room with them and do some refinement, and also be with researchers watching some usability testing or participating on usability testing. Just to finish up the live, guys, any tips for young designers, people that are really beginning and want to learn and evolve and be in our places, maybe, or in bigger places than we are? What is the tip you guys can give to a young designer?
Mm.
Research, carry on researching and study and always be learning. Like learn, in my opinion. Learn about the tools, learn about the software, learn about different products. I think there's producthunt.com or something like that, where I think people just post their products. Some of them are shit, like they just make no sense, but it doesn't matter. Just like learn about, what other people are doing. And I think that's basically the most important thing. If you keep studying, keep learning, read books, and yeah, that's what I think anyway.
And you, Dimitri?
You know what? This is, I think the early careers is like one of the hardest points in starting off anyway, for me especially. I remember, so I would say it actually, like from a visual perspective, if someone wants to be more UI, more motion, or anything kind of that's to do with more how things look and represented, I think in the beginning especially, what really, really helps, and I think to back this up, the one thing that everyone lacks really heavily on is actual real portfolio of real life products. So especially if someone's out of uni, all of the products are quite conceptual, more I would consider it more art rather than design to a degree. Because it's not solving problems, right? You're doing it for yourself in a way. So it's a bit different. So I'll say, especially when starting off, one of the best things to do is to, I know this is a bit weird, but I used to do this and actually helps. Like, there's a bit of a strategy with it, like that I kind of learn to develop. And the more, so look around, so find websites that you really love using, that you really like, and maybe even if some stuff that you'd love to like change slightly, and just start recreating stuff, recreating patterns. So like the more, I think the more websites, the more things you create, and the more you'll first learn how to use the tools. You will learn like, rules around why people are doing certain things. Even if you don't understand it, you'll start getting exposed to like, spacing, how typography, the hierarchy, the information architecture on the page. You'll start naturally absorbing all of those things. And even if you don't understand fully about it, but in the background, in your head, you will start building almost like your own library of things that can help you solve problems or generate ideas a bit quicker. So mocking things up, just keep doing it. Like, just get your hands on, use the tools. Just, you don't, I'll say, if it's not a real problem or real brief, like try create one. It's a bit hard. So in the beginning, it's really hard to do. So that's what I'm saying. Just look at something and try and copy and recreate it. So the more you copy and recreate, you will naturally be able to do things much more quicker and easier. So I think that's kind of like a little tip that helped me.
Yeah, that's true. I've started as well like this, copying websites. Didn't know why people done a big font or a bigger spacing, just copy, until one day you start to understand, okay, that's typography, that's the spacing, that's why the white space does exist, that's how grids work, that's how the responsive works, and that's why this module does this. So I think copy is an important part to learn UI, but to learn UX is more about practicing. Like, there isn't fake projects that will learn you UX on a high level, because fake projects normally it's your assumptions. And as you said, Dimitri, it's like you're doing a job for you. You're not doing a job for users or for clients. You're doing for you just to create a portfolio. I think I come from Brazil, and on Brazil at least we do free jobs. So I've done apps before for free. I've done loads of websites for free for companies, just to actually have this contact with client. That's their problem. I need to solve their problem. That's real. I'm not winning money, but that's a real issue. It's not the Coca-Cola website copy. Because everyone done the Tesla and the Coca-Cola website. So yeah, guys, I mean, that was about it. That was a nice live. If anyone wants to add them, just add Chloe there for a little of banter and drinks and complaining about someone sitting in her car. Add Dimitri for tips with gardening and babies as well. He's the construction man. He done the whole house by his hands.
Yeah, trying to you know what I'm like, Junior. We are quite similar, you and I, like in terms of how we like to be hands-on and get things done. Like we're kind of hard workers down to our core to a degree, right?
Needs to be done. Will be done.
Yeah, exactly.
So thanks for the live, guys. I'm gonna close there, but then we're gonna keep on the call. I'm gonna close just YouTube.